Well, hello there and welcome back to a brand new video where today's video, guys, we are talking about Rugby 24. Yes, once again, we have some news regarding Rugby 24 and it kind of relates to a game called Tiebreak and basically just some games in general from the guys over at Big Ant Studios. Obviously, to give you guys a bit of a recap, Big Ant Studios are a massive sports developer and I think early-ish last year, I think in 2023, they got bought out by the publisher Nacon, the French company, who is the publisher for previous rugby games like we've seen on Rugby 22, Rugby 20, Rugby 18, etc. And obviously Nacon is a big publisher for Eco Software and Big Ben Interactive. Now obviously when Big Ant Studios came into the scene under the Nacon umbrella, obviously Big Ant Studios obviously develops a lot of sporting games, and obviously Nacon kind of want to even enlarge their kind of footprint in the world of gaming, especially when it comes to the sports franchises. And the other day, Tiebreak, one of the new games coming out for 2023, has been delayed until January 2024. And the reason why this is important is, once again, it's a game developed by Big Ant Studios, but this game has been delayed. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But I also wanted to talk about was why I think Rugby 24 is still coming out on January 30th. Obviously, I made a video the other day saying that Ross Simmons left a comment, right? And a lot of people in the community have gone, Matt, you're too excited here, mate. Like, it's not really his account. Or, like, why would Ross say this and this and this and all that stuff, right? And we'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, I've been gathering a lot of information here regarding all the games which Big Ant Studios have kind of released over the last year or so, and pretty much every single one of them has been delayed at least once. There's kind of been a repeat pattern here, which kind of dictates that Rugby 24, Rugby 24 will still be coming out in January, which is on January right now, right? And I just kind of wanted to share with you guys my thoughts and opinions, and you guys can leave some comments down below whether or not you think I'm on the right track, whether you have any other suggestions and all that stuff. So to begin with, let's talk about Tiebreak and why it's important and why it relates to Rugby 24. So Tiebreak, obviously they sent out a tweet on January 4th saying, "Dear tennis fans, best efforts have been made to release our tennis title Tiebreak before the end of 2023, but we've just fallen a little short and it will be released in January of 2024. Our ambition from the very start of development on Tiebreak has always been to create the best tennis game to date. Tennis is a complex sport, and to do it justice, we want to give players the chance to get involved from the launch of the new ATP and the WTA tennis season and help us build an experience that is comprehensive and realistic as possible," right? So what they're trying to do here is they're delaying the game, but they're also at the same time want to give players some kind of early access, almost like a beta in a way, but you pay for the full game and then you kind of have like early access to the game, and then eventually the game comes out. Like we've seen that with Rugby 22, I think it was, and Rugby 20, where the game comes out and then you wait for this big patch update which kind of changes the whole game. But they also say, in order to best deliver on this ambition, we have taken the decision to launch Tiebreak on early access. So this early access will enable us to obtain player feedback and optimize your decision making in terms of what changes to apply to improve the game before final release. As of today, we cannot confirm the exact date when this early access will begin. It may not arrive on January 11th, but we're working hard to make it happen as soon as possible. So what's interesting here is the game was meant to come out end of 2023. They have suggested a date of January 11th, which is in a few days' time. So far, we've had no information whether or not it will still come out on January 11th. And January 11th, I think, is a Friday, right? I'm just checking. Is it a Friday? Yeah, no, it's a Thursday, right? So supposedly this early access may come, but they say they might not be. It could be around then. They're also saying here, we are also excited to be able to say that Tiebreak will be the most authentic tennis game ever. Not only will Tiebreak include both the ATP and WTA, it will have more stadiums, more tournaments, more competitions, and more licensed players than any tennis game before it. Please stay tuned. We sincerely appreciate your patience. We cannot wait to get the game in your hands as soon as possible, and looking forward to hearing your feedback. So it's going to be interesting, right? And the reason why this is important is that Rugby 24 got delayed, and the reason why Rugby 24 got delayed was because of Cricket 24 coming out, and Cricket 24 was delayed, and AFL was meant to come out at a certain date, and that got delayed. So as you can see here, there's kind of a sequence of events, right, where pretty much every Big Ant studio big release has been delayed at least once. Now, Tiebreak being delayed for the kind of the first time, what's coming next? Supposedly, Rugby 24. Rugby 24 got delayed because Cricket 24 was coming out a month later than the original release date of Rugby 24. So this is why I'm kind of thinking that Rugby 24 will come out on January 30th, because they are slightly delaying Tiebreak. Now, according to Ross Simmons, right, who is the CEO, if you look at all his tweets and look at all his replies, he is constantly referring that the teams are kind of shared in terms of resources, and that some people work on Tiebreak, some people work on Tiebreak and AFL, some people work on all the games at once, right? And the reason why, supposedly, and this is rumours, but the reason why Rugby 24 was delayed in the first place was to give more bandwidth for the guys over at Cricket 24. And if you've seen Cricket 24 and the posts on Twitter, you can see the response as being kind of a happy medium. A lot of people were kind of happy with the relaunch, but then there was a big patch update, and still people to this day that some patches are still coming out to fix the game, which is kind of a worry for me in terms of Rugby 24. I would hate for Rugby 24 to come out like Cricket 24. I know we're saying a lot of 24s here, but I would hate for Rugby 24 to come out like Cricket 24, where the game is just out to please us, but in reality there's going to be a big patch up, a big patch up sounds like a big fight up, like a big patch update coming out, then another update, right? And I kind of feel like the guys are at Big Hat Studios, and we're talking about it in the moment, but obviously your Six Nations is coming out in sometime in February or so, and it kind of makes sense to get the game out closer to then. But no, it's going to be interesting. And so Tiebreak being one of their big games being delayed, is this a reflection on Rugby 24 coming out? It's going to be interesting. Now, one thing which I also wanted to talk about was cricket, right? So Cricket 24, right, got delayed. So Cricket 24 was released on October 5th. It was meant to come out in June, July of 2023, just before the Ashes, right? And kind of similar with Rugby 24, right? Rugby 24 was originally meant to be coming out before the World Cup, but it never did. And so it seems like Big Ant Studios, you know, it's a smart business move, is to release the game just before a big event comes out in that sporting world. So obviously the Ashes is massive, and obviously Big Ant Studios being an Australian company, obviously getting Cricket 24 ready and delivered before the Ashes would have been fantastic, but obviously it was delayed and obviously came out after the Ashes and was released October 5th. But like I said, there's been a lot of updates to Cricket 24. If you have played it, please let me know. But apparently a lot of people are kind of 50-50 on the game. They're still making fixes and tweaks and all that stuff. But Cricket 24 was delayed, if you remember that. So Rugby 24 was delayed to support Cricket 24, and Cricket 24 came out with a lot of bugs and they're still fixing them, but that's pretty interesting. Now, if you remember AFL, so we're going a little bit back in time, AFL was an interesting release for the guys over at Big Ant Studios. So AFL was originally, where was it? AFL was originally, so we talk about AFL quickly. AFL was originally meant to come out on April 13th, but got delayed until May 4th. Now, what was even interesting to some degree was that the PS4 and PS5 version came out first, and then the Xbox One and Xbox X Series X version came out in September, which was kind of a big kind of upset for the guys over at AFL and the big fans, right? I've never played AFL, but I'm curious to give it a go. But no, what I'm talking about here, and the reason why I'm bringing up all this information is that the reason why I think it strongly suggests to us that Rugby 24 will be coming out on January 30th is that there has been a trend where the game gets delayed, the other game in their franchise comes out, and then it just keeps going, and every single one of their games has been delayed at least once to support another game coming out with a very close release date. Now, something which I also wanted to talk about was, could there be a Rugby 24 early access type of thing? Obviously, if they're looking at Tiebreak doing that, could Rugby 24 have something similar? It could do. It really could do. I think there's been so much hype regarding Rugby 24 that Big Ant Studios could do this. Now, the one thing which, you know, relating back to my video about Ross Simmons, right, where people are like, oh, Matt, like, that comment is not his account. He joined in June or whatever, right? I get that. But in the past, Ross, under either different names, has commented on certain videos of mine. Now, I can't tell if it is actually him, but what the information this person is providing is genuine. Now, the reason why Ross may or may not confirm or deny this is that Ross is obviously, like, if you look on Twitter, he doesn't really reply to people asking him questions about the game, right? He gives little hints and teasers, but that is it. Now, him creating an account and calling it that, and maybe, you know, it's like anything, right? Like, you know, like, someone, which has happened to me and I saw recently, someone created a username with my name pretending to be me, and people probably think it's me, right? Same thing with Ross Sinnams, right? Ross, it could be Ross Sinnams, or it could be someone, pretending, or, being on his behalf. But it was an interesting comment to say that the trailer is coming out mid-January, right? And the game is still coming out. So, like, if the trailer comes out by, like I said, right, if the trailer comes out next week sometime, then that comment seems to be pretty legit. And I know I get pretty excited about this, and I know it's pretty controversial, but, like, I genuinely believe, I'm believing what I'm saying right now. Like, if you're me, Big Ant Studios, and I will happily admit this on camera and on this video, that Big Ant Studios are not the greatest at advertising their games in terms of building up the hype. Now, I don't necessarily know why, if they don't want to maybe spoil people's hopes of the game coming out, because obviously a lot of games have been delayed, but it's they're very known, looking at all their previous games, that, like, the game came out, and then, like, literally, like, 4 days or 5 days before the game comes out, they will release an image, then a trailer, then an image, then a trailer. It's very short. It's like a short burst. It's like boom, 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 game out, right? Rather than, like, a game like Call of Duty, for example, where it's like teaser, 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 and, like, they're building up the hype from, like, 8 months in advance. So I don't know if it's just how the sporting world is slightly different to, like, Call of Duty, for example, but, Big Ant Studios are not the greatest, in my opinion anyway, in terms of marketing their games. I don't know why. There must be a reason. If I could ever have an interview with Ross Sinnams, I would love to ask him the question and say, Ross, why don't you guys market your games better? Is there a reason for that? Or why does Big Ant Studios do this in a certain way? Because there was a tweet, if I remember, there was a tweet I saw somewhere regarding when was it? Was it cricket, I think? So what was interesting, right, with Cricket 24, right, so when the game came out, they basically 4 days prior to the launch of Cricket 24, they did a day one, which was a dev diary video. Then they gave us more screenshots. Then they gave us a teaser video and more screenshots. And then on day 4, they gave us the game launch and trailer. Which, why give us the trailer on the day of it coming out? Like, it doesn't make sense. But no, it's definitely bizarre. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. Like, I'd love to know the answer as to why Big Ant Studios releases trailers, like, on the day of their game or just before. The hype, man. Like, if people want to pre-order the game, the whole point is to get the hype going, and, like, if you see a lot of pre-orders coming in, then that can motivate the team, like, if you knew that there was, like, 1 million people ready to play the game, like, be excited, compared to, like, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting. But I kind of wanted to share with you guys why I think Rugby 24 will still come out, because obviously with tiebreak being delayed. But I will keep you guys posted, because in the next few days we should hear from tiebreak whether or not, if their early access is still going to be a thing or not. It will be interesting. But what are your thoughts, guys? Leave a comment down below, like, out of 10, like, how certain you think Rugby 24 is coming out. Do you think it's going to be delayed, or do you think it's going to be, like, on time? So for me right now, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I think there's an 8 out of 10 chance the game will come out on January 30th. And there's a 20% chance of me thinking that it might get delayed again. Because January, everyone's coming back to work and all that stuff. There could be some delays here or there. But I don't know. Please let me know. But anyway, if you have enjoyed today's video, then please leave a massive thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, comments regarding this. But anyway, you guys, thank you guys for watching. And as always, in my next video, Adios, chaps. Boom.
And her gold is not in her. She's a diamond under. Wanna lay it